Thank you so much for joining us today for the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. Here on the Pastor's Potluck, it's similar to a normal potluck where you might get something that you want and there may be something that you just want to pass up altogether. And that's okay. There's something here for everybody. Our goal here is to encourage you and maybe in the process entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jessica.
Oh, that was good.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Welcome to another episode of the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. We're here, and today's Pastor Jessica's birthday.
Yep. I'm 40 today.
By
the time this airs, I'll be 40 in 2 days.
Yes.
I'll be 40 years old in 2 days.
Yep. But today.
And not in 40 and 2 days.
But good times. Good times. I did my 40th last April, and I came to the good realization that I'm halfway done with life. Look,
we're halfway there.
Well, I mean, if I make it to 80, that's good. That's really good.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of people that make it to 80. So I'm being positive and I'm hoping to make it to 80. So what's that Bon Jovi song, Living on a Prayer?
Yeah.
Oh, we're halfway there. Whoa. Living on a prayer.
That's what you're doing as you're headed into 41 right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, happy birthday. We're going to
you.
celebrate all things 80s and 90s. And as you could tell, if you were watching this, we got the little troll dolls here from the 80s that were really popular. They had like a cartoon show that they came out with. These are upsetting though because they don't have the little jewel belly button.
But I think it's because they had clothes. I think it's because these ones had clothes.
I know, but that's like what made it special, I guess.
We got, when we were looking and found these, Olivia was like, those are the creepiest looking things ever. And I'm like, you stop that right now.
Yeah.
These are the coolest. And then you just shake their hair and make them crazy.
I wish I had hair like that.
I kind of do have hair like that. So that's the way we feel today, at least.
And then we've got Animal from the Muppets. Yep. And then we've got this box that we'll get into later that's full of 80s surprise snacks. But we don't know what's inside of it. So we're excited to get into this. But one of the things I wanted to talk about is something that we get incredibly wrong from the 80s. Mm-hmm. And that is the fashion.
Yeah.
I think if you were to Google 80s fashion, most of the time you're going to get pictures of girls that are doing like a sorority, or maybe it's like an 80s day at school or something like that. And it's all bright and neon. Mm-hmm. And, they wore spandex everywhere and they had the hair pulled off to the side. I did have the hair
pulled off to the side.
But we get it wrong.
Yeah.
And I always try to point people in the right direction of the best way to get a glimpse into what 80s fashion was like would be Breakfast Club.
Yes.
Like that is...
I would agree with that.
I think that if you were to try to put the 80s into a movie, that would be the best one. So
that's a good movie too.
Why do we get that wrong though? I
don't know.
Why is everything so like neon?
I think of like the workout Barbie, and how like she has like the spandex suit with the swimsuit looking thing over it and the leg warmer. Like that's what I think of that's what I think people think of when they think of the 80s.
But that's
is that like bright colors and stuff. I'm like, I was an infant, first of all, so I didn't look like that at all.
Yeah.
But the Breakfast Club, I could see for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure my mom rocked it.
Yeah.
If that's the case. We were looking back at old pictures last week, and man, there was no bright colors in any of those things.
Yeah.
None of it. There was a lot of floral.
Yeah.
a
lot of floral.
Big collared, like collars on her neck.
They had like the lace stitching on it.
Lace stitching. There was
Yeah.
lots of that. There's lots of bangs.
Yeah.
Lots of perms. This is not a perm, but she had a perm. It was a lot.
Dude, my dad had a perm.
My dad didn't have hair, so.
At least you got your mom's genes.
Yeah.
So, but it's just so funny and strange to me, and it got me thinking of like all these other like these movies that were just so awesome from the 80s, you know, because I was like, well, why do we get the fashion wrong? Breakfast Club is like, you know, that this gets it right. But what are some movies from the 80s that are like in your life, like they're timeless, like you've maybe once a year you watch them or try to watch them? Do you have any movies like that? Because I do.
Oh gracious, I'm sure I do. I'm gonna have to think for a second. Well, I do love Breakfast Club. I do think that's a good one.
Yeah.
So when I was in school, we had to do this, like in high school, we had to do these presentations on like decades or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And we got the 80s. And so we had to watch 80s movies and do all these presentations about it. That was the best. We had a blast with that.
Yeah.
But Breakfast Club is a good one. I don't know. Oh my goodness.
We'll fix this for you.
Oh, is it messed up? Sorry. I would say, I don't know when this one came out, but Dirty Dancing is a good one. Is that an 80s? Okay, yeah. So Dirty Dancing would probably be it. I love that movie.
Yeah.
I love Dirty Dancing a lot. That's probably, if I had to pick one that I could watch over and over and over again, it would be that.
Yeah.
Because I love the music in it. I love the dancing in it. I love Patrick Swayze. Like, that movie to me that's what I think of when I think of like, and that fashion, they get the fashion right in that one. They don't look silly in that movie.
I know. It's because it was made in the 80s.
So, no, I would say Dirty Dancing would probably be my top on that one.
What about Roadhouse?
Oh, that movie? Okay. I think it's Roadhouse. Is there a part in that movie where there's like a semi truck or something like that? And they like go close to the semi. Is that in that movie?
I don't keep on talking. Keep on describing.
Who's in that movie? Who is
Patrick Swayze.
Patrick Swayze. Okay, I think it might be.
He's like a bouncer at a bar.
Yeah, I think it might be that movie. But that movie gave me PTSD to where I could not drive by semi trucks. I'm almost positive it's that movie.
Oh.
I'm almost positive. That is a good movie though.
Yeah, I enjoyed that movie. I probably watched it maybe 50 or 60 times.
That is a good movie.
But
Pretty in Pink is another good one.
I don't
Molly
remember
Ringwald.
that one. Oh yeah. So yeah, those are all the John Hughes movies.
Yeah, John Hughes movies. So I like John Hughes movies.
So he did 16 Candles. Mm-hmm. He did Breakfast Club. He did Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yep.
Yeah, those are great. He did Weird Science.
Yes, I remember that one.
But one movie for me, if I had to watch it over and over and over again, it would be Goonies.
Oh, that is such a good movie. All that went through my head just now was, "Hey, you guys."
For real.
That's what went through my head. Oh, that is a good one.
Yeah, I like that meme that's going around right now where Chunk looks up at Sloth and he goes, "Hey," and the caption is, "This is what my wife said whenever we got married," and it's like shows Chunk and he's like, "You're gonna come live with me now," and then the husband is Sloth and he's like, "Really?" But another one that was like I was infatuated with just because I could never understand and figure out the special effects with it was the original Muppet movie.
Yes, I remember that one.
Yeah, where that frog hopper guy,
yep.
Doc Hopper, I think is what his name was, and he was chasing Kermit the Frog across the whole country or whatever, and he's trying to cook him up for his famous Frog Legs restaurant.
Yep.
And there's a scene in there where Kermit the Frog is riding a bike, and
I love that you remember that.
I was like, how did they do that? Because my whole life, it's like, okay, you shove your hand in the back of this wad of fabric and it's a puppet. And he's riding a bike and he's walking around or like while he's riding a bike, he's talking to people.
Yeah.
Couldn't figure it out.
That's a good question. Did Princess Bride come out in the 80s? When did that come out?
It may be late 80s.
Because I loved that movie too. I'm going to look that up because I don't know when that came out, but that's a good movie too.
That is a fantastic movie.
I love Princess Bride.
There's another one. Hold on.
1987.
There was this movie, and I can't ever remember the name of it. It was kind of like I guess an 80s horror movie. Mm-hmm. But it was like this comet got close to the Earth, and the sky turned red, and then like all of like the machines, like cars and tractors and everything like that, came to life and just started mowing people down.
I don't remember that at all.
I forget what it was called.
I don't remember
it was so
that
cheesy.
at all. I just looked up popular movies in the 80s, and it's obviously The Breakfast Club,
Yes. Stand
By Me, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Princess Bride, Dirty Dancing, Top Gun. That is a good one. The Shining gives me nightmares. E.T. was definitely one of my favorites. I love Reese's Pieces still to this day because of E.T.
Dude, yes. For real.
So in August, I took Olivia to Universal Studios.
Uh-huh.
And Islands of Adventure for her birthday, and they have an ET ride, and I love it. Like you ride on these little bicycle like things, and it takes you up and around, and like you like see ET and all that stuff. I was so excited. Like I was hyping this thing up to Olivia, and we got off, and she's like, "Aunt Jessa, that was so lame." And I'm like, "You shut your mouth. That was amazing." And she thought I was the dumbest thing ever. I was like, "It was so wonderful." She's like, "No, it was not."
So that movie I was talking about is called Maximum Overdrive, and it's based off of a Stephen King novel.
I have never heard of that.
Yeah, which The Shining was a Stephen King novel.
Yes, I did know that.
Whenever it comes to like supernatural stuff, and I think they dabble a little bit of that in The Shining, I've never been able to sit through stuff like that, but like if it's like a comet came too close to Earth or whatever, and the vehicles come to life,
right?
Like that's fun.
Just silly stuff.
That's silly stuff.
Yeah,
I could watch that all day.
Field of Dreams is another good one. That was 1989. Yeah. Die Hard. Let's see, 84, which is the year I was born. Risky Business. Ooh, The Lost Boys. Have you seen that?
Yes.
That is a good movie. Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, dude, that's a good one right
When
there.
Harry Met Sally, Coming to America, Big. Oh, I used to love that show. I used to love the movie Big.
Yes, because you got to live out your fantasy of having tons of money and going on a shopping spree.
That's amazing. And guess what I got to do last summer? I got to actually play on the big piano in New York. So
Did
I
you
was
do
very
the chopsticks?
excited. We were just playing all kinds of silly stuff. It was so fun. Karate Kid, Terminator, Airplane, Dead Poets Society, Gremlins, 16 Candles, Fast Time at Ridgemont High, Footloose. Forgot about Footloose. That is a good one too. There's all kinds of good movies that came out. And that Rain Man. There's all kinds of good movies that came out in the 80s.
I still quote like a lot of lines from movies from the 80s.
Yeah.
And people look at me like
I'm crazy.
Like I'm crazy, but they don't know what I'm like.
No.
Like what I'm referencing.
I say that, "Hey, you guys," all the time. And people are like, "What?" And I'm like, "Have you literally never seen the Goonies?"
Yeah.
And then I also do the As You Wish a lot from Princess Bride.
Oh,
and people are like, "What is that?" And I was like, I don't think we can be friends right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can be friends. If I ever see someone and they don't understand the reference of "I carried a watermelon," we're really going to have problems.
Yes. Yep.
That's like the best. You don't put baby in the corner. Like, those are classic lines that you need to know.
Throwing hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You've got to know. Just got to know.
Well, coming off the topic of movies, I want to say that the 80s probably were, I don't know if this is the right term for it, but it's the only thing I can think of right now because I'm like super tired. I I wish it was the 80s so I could be sleeping in. But was cable television was huge. Was absolutely huge in the 80s.
Yeah.
Because I think that most television stations in the 70s were just like local channels. And so whenever they started doing cable television and then syndicated TV shows to where it was like national audience, it's where we saw the rise of like a lot of these like cult classics. Saved by the Bell. Full House. One of my personal favorites. Family Matters. Personal favorite of mine. I loved that show.
Yep. Do you remember? So this would be more 90s than 80s, but like TGIF. Like they did the TGIF stuff on Fridays.
Yes.
And if you weren't home for it, you just missed it because you didn't have the DVR back then. So you better hope you recorded it on your VCR, but that's about it.
Well, the crazy thing is that like we had all these things to like be addicted to, quote unquote, with movies and television and stuff like that. But like my parents, like it's weird whenever I mention things to my kids, like drinking out of a garden hose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, "What are you talking about?
Why would you do that?
Why wouldn't you just go get water from the sink or the fridge?" And I'm like, you don't realize what life was like.
Yeah.
Because if we were home, we
were outside.
But we weren't allowed inside.
No. And if you're outside, you're outside.
Yeah, if you're outside, you're outside. None of this in and out. Not unless you had to like really go to the bathroom. But it was to the point to where cable television shows actually at 10 o'clock used to have a commercial that would come on right at 10 o'clock, and it would go across every single channel. Do you know where your kids are? I'm dead serious.
I remember it.
It's 10 o'clock.
Do you know where your kids are?
Yeah. Hey, parents, here's a quick reminder just in case you forgot. You have children.
The street lights have been on for quite some time.
For real.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, that was always like our deal was once the street lights kick on and they got to full power because it took forever. It took a good 5-10 minutes for these things to get super bright.
If my mom whistled and we did not come, we got in trouble because my mom has a whistle that you can hear like nobody's business.
Man.
So
does she still have it?
She still has it.
Oh.
And still to this day, if we're out and about and she whistles, I know it's her and I'm like, where's she at? She is looking for me.
Is it a physical whistle or she does it with her mouth?
No, she like just whistles. She doesn't like, she just, I don't know. She just knows how to whistle. And that's
one
what
of the things I wish I could do.
That's what she
like
did
them
to get
loud
us home.
Whistles.
Yeah.
Like I could whistle, just like regular whistle.
I can regular whistle, but I can't whistle like that.
I know, dude, it seemed like everybody in the 80s could whistle.
Yeah.
I never could.
She can still to this day.
I always just look like a moron sticking my fingers in my mouth and
I tried. I used to try. I'd be like, never happened. Never. But yeah, nope. She still to this day knows how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So like whenever we were outside and we were always getting into like our own trouble.
Yeah.
Like we were like, if stuff that we did growing up, like if my kids were doing that today, they'd be in jail. They'd be in jail. Like we did so much reckless stuff. Like I'm surprised because I'm one of 5 kids. I'm surprised that we all made it out. I'm literally surprised because we would get like random offcuts of wood and get cinder blocks.
Yeah.
And and the goal was to get on your bike and go as fast as you could go.
Yeah.
And hit that ramp, this makeshift ramp. And that's all we planned for. We didn't.
What happened after that?
Whatever happened after that,
I don't know.
It was like.
I get that.
It wasn't until like a couple of times that we were, that we had to start like really thinking through things because like kids would like, other kids in the neighborhood, somebody would like break their arm or something. And it was always like, you never wanted to be the one that had to be sent in to go like tell mom and dad like
Yep.
You know Timmy, right?
So we lived up Dutch Road in Charleston, and we lived where Elk River Church of the Nazarene is. So like we lived down right there. So at that time, Elk River, they don't now because they've developed it, but they used to have what we used to call the hills behind the church, and it was
that's
just
where your uncle,
where my mom and dad still go to church, and our cousin pastors there.
Your cousin,
yeah,
yes.
So they used to have these what we would call the hills behind the church, and it was literally just like dirt hill things all over the back. You couldn't get back there, but we did. We did it all the time. We would fall. We would get hurt. It was ridiculous, but we thought it was the best thing ever. Well, then Elk River added on to the back of their church, and they added this like upper back part, which cut into part of those hills, which made it easier for us to access back there.
Yeah.
But the pastor at the time who was there, he had a daughter that was mine and Scott's age. And I mean, up Dutch Road, like we went to school at the bottom of Dutch Road at Shoals. So like all these kids lived up Dutch Road, and the church parking lot was the place to hang out. Like the church was where we all hung out.
Yeah.
Well, Lauren gets this bright idea one day that she thinks that her dad has given us permission, or at least she tells us that her dad has given us permission to go upstairs into the part of the church that's being worked on, and that he's given us permission to go in there. So we were all dumb and we were like, yo, let's go. She picks up a saw and saws part of her finger off, and I'm the one that has to go get the parents. We got in so much trouble.
Like an electric saw?
No, just like had these like one of the old wood, like the one that you just move back and forth. So she had that, and she was trying to be silly and cut a piece of wood, and she put her hand down and did it and sawed part of the top of her finger off. And there's blood everywhere. She's screaming and crying. So she's like, go get your mom. So I run and get my mom. My mom calls her dad because we all just lived right there. Her dad comes over, and they are ready to kill all of us. We all got in trouble because she sliced her finger off.
I was always a realist, though. I'm like, I'm not going to get in trouble for somebody else's stupidity. We all got in trouble
for that. Mom's like, you knew better. You knew you weren't supposed to be up there. And I'm like, but she said we could. Like, her dad's the pastor. No, it didn't matter. We used to do that. We played. So Elk River has a really nice hill from their upper parking lot to the bottom.
Yep.
We'd get up there to the top of that and ride down on our bikes, no hands, all this. I've got scars on my knees from like where my shoestring would come untied and it would wrap around the pedal and I'd go flying. I've got scars all over my legs, and we had good times up there though.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just up there like 2 weeks ago, so I know exactly like how steep that hill is.
Oh, it was the best to go biking down.
What did you do? Just like whenever you got down to the bottom of the hill, did you go left or right? Because like if you keep on going straight, you're running right into rocks.
We used to just keep going straight. Like we used to just keep coming straight because it would take us straight down. Our house it's not there anymore. So when you pull up on that parking lot where the church sign is, our house sat right there.
Oh, okay.
So it would take us straight into our parking lot or our driveway right there to our house. And so that's what we would do. And then we'd run back and ride it back up to the top and right back down again. So,
dude.
Yeah,
just being outside. Like I wish we didn't live in a world where we had like tons of creepy people now. It seems like. And I know that there was like the same type of people like in the 80s or whatever, but it just seems like less safe. But getting back on the cable television, one of the things that was like it's probably considered one of the most pivotal moments in all of pop culture, and that's whenever they entered the introduction of MTV. Mm-hmm. Because back then it was just, you just had radio because we weren't flush with money just to go out and just buy whole albums or whatever.
No.
And so with the introduction of MTV, it was another way to be able to listen to music and be introduced to things, because they always had like new music Mondays or something like that. And then they had like
TRL.
Well, that was later. That was like in the
2000s.
But they also had like the Headbangers Ball in the 80s, which did like the metal music. And they also had like, you know, like little spurts of like all the different genres with pop and rock and all of that just being in there and being mixed. Were you ever allowed to listen to secular music?
We were
in the
allowed
80s?
to listen to secular music. We weren't allowed to watch MTV.
Yeah.
We didn't get to watch MTV till we were in high school.
Because
and even then, we had to sneak to watch it.
Well, with the introduction of music videos, it was like, how can we push the boundaries of how close can we get to the line of being this not being allowed on television? And so I want to say like the first music video that was ever played, which kind of like set the tone for everything, was Like a Virgin by Madonna.
Yep.
And that's not a great way to start off for young minds in their formidable years. No. And so obviously the choice was like, you don't get to watch this at all.
We didn't. So I was still like, I was born in 84. So I was like baby still, you know,
but even in the 90s
majority of the 80s,
passing it over.
But the 90s, we listened to, the majority of what we listened to was country music. So I remember still, and we actually just talked about this a couple weeks ago. So one of my really good friends now, she used to be our babysitter back in the day. And she was probably 12 to, well, she was probably 15, but she introduced us to CMT. We had never watched CMT before. And so we would watch those country music videos all the time, because that's what the majority of what we listen to is country music. And then my mom is big on oldies. And so we listen to a lot of oldies. Yeah. So that's what we listened to growing up. And then
they don't have any more oldies radio stations anymore.
I haven't found one that's good.
Like I have some on Apple Music, some playlists and whatnot, but that was another thing that I missed was like the oldies radio, like the bubblegum oldies, like the stuff from like the 50s and 60s.
That's what we
the car
listen
hop,
to.
the milkshakes,
like Grease type stuff. Like that's what we listened to. Those were the movies that we kind of watched growing up, because that's what we were allowed. And Carmen,
dude,
we were allowed to listen to Carmen. Carmen was our first official concert, I guess you could say.
I know, yeah. Yes. So if you don't know who Carmen was, he was this artist in the 80s and 90s, and he would do like, the message was great. The songs were cheesy because he would write songs like,
Who's in the house? Do you remember that one?
Yes.
JC.
So he would write songs called like Satan Bite the Dust.
Yep.
But they would be like kind of like the old retro country and western style songs, but he was like a rapper as well.
Yeah, it was really weird.
It was really weird.
There was another one about what was the one? There was one about like no monsters. That was the name of it. Don't want no monsters in this house tonight. I don't know why I remember random useless lyrics, but I do. Yeah.
And he had another one that was like based off of Rocky that was called We Are the Champions.
Yep.
And it was the story of Jesus overcoming death and being resurrected. And those music videos were really weird.
They were very weird. They were very weird.
They were weird. But what was I going to say? Oh, so it reminded me of like, so my dad used to be like, I don't know, he kind of went rogue with having to buy movies and stuff like that. So he bought a, I don't know why this popped up while we were talking about Carmen, but it just brought me back. So my dad bought this VCR that you could record off of. And so he found out that, you know, you put the cable line through the VCR and then you bought another coax and put it in the back of the TV. And if you hit record, it just recorded whatever was on television. Yep. And so they would have like Friday night movies or Saturday night movies or whatever. And so whatever came on television that was a movie, he'd record and have like the little label and write it on there. But the problem is if it was movie night, family movie night, there always had to be one of us that had to sit close to the VCR
to fast
forward through all of the commercials that we had because. Yeah. And then there would just be some evenings where we're like, we're not fast forwarding. It's just nobody wants to get up. Maybe it was like cold outside and everybody's all bundled up in blankets and got a bowl of popcorn or whatever.
Yep.
And so we would have like these. Most of the movies that they would do would be on ABC, and so they had like little claymation. So whenever the movie would go to commercial, they'd have like these little claymation things, like the Raisinets, or like these other ones that had like a black lady, a white guy, and like a Chinese lady or whatever, and they would sing stuff, and then they'd put their head on the ground. And it would fall off and then roll to the different body. So they'd be like, after these messages, put their head on the ground, and it would roll off and go to a different body. They would plop back up, and they would go, we'll be right back.
Yep.
What a way to have nightmares as a kid.
Man.
But they also had like the Raisinets, and they would do it.
I do remember the Raisinets. Yeah.
And they would do like the little commercial, because they actually had a cartoon in the 80s, the Raisinets, but they had the claymation ones. And they'd do the same thing, you know, we'll be right back after these messages or whatever jingle that they had. And that's just what people did.
Yeah.
But it's funny because like most of the movies that I remember, like if I rewatch them, I know in certain points of those movies, like Goonies was one of them, like, there should be a commercial break right here. And they would have like these crazy like Burger King commercials. Where Denzel Washington was like a breakdancer or just whatever you could think of, like just crazy stuff. But like back in the day, the commercials were rogue too.
They were. We watched a lot of we always watched the TGI Friday stuff, like, because that's where you had like Full House was on there, Family Matters was on there. We watched
Alf. Do you remember Alf?
Oh my goodness, yes. Alf. We watched what was it? Sabrina the Teenage Witch or whatever that was on there for a while in the 90s. We watched those things, but then like I also really liked Eureka's Castle.
Yeah.
I loved Eureka's Castle and Reading Rainbow.
Yeah. Saturday mornings were on
Mr. Rogers, the original Mr. Rogers, like loved that kind of stuff.
Like watching Bob Ross, like new episodes come out, like that was, you're like, dude, what's going on?
Yeah, Reading Rainbow and Eureka's Castle were probably my favorites though. Yeah. Like I still have that jingle in my head from Reading Rainbow, like take a look, it's in a book. Like that goes through my head quite often. Yeah. And then I also like movies. I think like when I think of movies from like growing up, my favorite movie growing up was the Goofy movie.
Oh yeah.
Like the original Goofy movie from Disney.
Yeah.
Where Goofy has his son Max and he's going to see Powerline. Like that was my movie.
Yes. The thing that frustrates me about that is, where is Max gone?
Where's he at now? What happened to him?
Should still have him around.
Exactly.
Did you ever watch a show called Milo and Otis?
I loved Milo and Otis. Okay, yes. So do you remember, you may not remember this, but there used to be this thing. I don't even know how you got signed up for it, but there used to be this thing where you would sign up for it and it was like a movie club or like a CD club, and you would like sign up for it and you would get them for like $1 or whatever.
That was the hook.
My
first
parents
5 were like $1.
Yeah.
And then you had to buy another 5 at full price. Yeah. And they were like $30 a movie.
So we did that. So we had all those movies. Like we had Milo and Otis. We had The Land Before Time. Oh, love that movie.
Dude,
Feifel.
Oh yeah,
oh my gosh,
Feifel
American
goes
west.
Tail.
Yep, the American Tail. Feifel goes west. But and then what was the one with
That's
the dogs?
One of the ones I used to like. I say all the time, like a quote from it, because whenever I tell people that I had corrective eye surgery, and they would be like, "Well, what for?" I said, "Because I had a lazy eye."
What's the one where the dogs? Oh, Homeward Bound. We had Homeward Bound. All of those movies. So yeah.
I'm going to ruin Milo and Otis for you.
Okay.
I'm ruining it for you.
Oh, thanks.
Because it was the 80s.
It was.
It was the Wild West and movie making and all of this. And it's part of the reason why there's like laws against animals being hurt.
Yeah.
Okay. In movies, like that's why they have to have that disclaimer. No animals were harmed in the filming of this movie.
Yeah.
Is because of Milo and Otis, because it was filmed in Russia. They dubbed over it with American voices and all of that. So there's a scene in that movie where this is going to get kind of dark. So there's a scene in this movie where the cat is like trying to walk across like this big wooden, like a big fallen down tree to get over the river, and he's limping.
Yes.
They were deliberately breaking the cat's leg, and if they couldn't get it right, they would put that cat down and they get another cat. I'm dead serious. I'm 100% serious. Like, I would never make up anything like this.
Oh my, that is awful.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say is like the 80s were like the craziest time
that just
in
gave
life.
me cold chills.
I know.
Oh, that's awful.
It's a legit thing. It's
so
super sad. Like, what kind of crazy people are making movies in the 80s?
That's awful. I don't ever want to watch that movie again.
Dude, for real. It is the worst.
That's awful.
It is the worst.
That just made me so sad.
All right, on a positive note.
Yeah,
maybe not so much, but do you remember that show The Dinosaurs?
Yes, not the baby, not the baby.
Not the baby.
Yeah.
So whenever that show went off the air, did you ever see the last episode?
Yes, a long, long time ago.
So do you remember like the basis of it?
About the last episode?
The last episode of Dinosaurs. So this television show is loved by everybody.
Yeah.
Because it's like full body animatronic suits and they're walking around and puppets and all that. But it's like geared towards adults. So like kids are watching this, but there's like a lot of adult themes in it.
Right.
But anyways, it was like not like adult themes, but like adult humor.
Right.
But it was a good, clean show.
Yeah.
The last episode, it starts off with a news program.
I'm going to have to rewatch it.
Starts off with like a news program, and the newscaster gets on there and he goes, we just got word that asteroid may be passing by.
Oh, that's right.
And so it's like leading up the whole episode to the extinction of the dinosaurs, and there's nothing that they could do, and so they're just sitting there.
Yes.
And it's like super sad because they were like, well, I guess it's our time.
Sorry,
there's nothing we can do.
I do remember that now. Yep. I loved that show.
Yeah.
We liked that. That was a TGI Friday show too.
But if you're ever going to end a television show, like that's the best way to end it.
Yes.
Especially if it's on dinosaurs.
Sorry about your luck. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
I love it.
So I pulled up this little thing and just some things that cost in 1984.
Oh, yeah.
You probably got a birthday card
I did.
that said this, but minimum wage in 1984 was $3.35 an hour.
Wow.
That's crazy. A new house cost $86,000. Brand new house. A gallon of gas was $1.10.
Yep.
$1.10. Like, where's that at?
Right. Could that come back now, please? Thank you.
A gallon of milk, still roughly about the same price.
Yeah.
$3.98 a gallon.
That's crazy.
Pound of bacon, $1.69.
Where's those prices too?
Dozen eggs, $1.
Yeah.
Postage stamps were 20 cents. A movie ticket was $3.71. Big 56 Academy Awards, since we just had the Oscars happen. The big movie that year was Terms of Endearment.
Oh, yep.
Shirley MacLaine won Best Actress in that movie. James Brooks got Best Director for that movie. Best Picture was Terms of Endearment. Best Actor went to Robert Duvall for Tender Mercies.
I've never seen that.
Yep. Space Shuttle Challenger.
Yep. It
1984.
blew up in 1984.
Michael Jackson wins a record 8 Grammys that year. Summer Olympics happened in Los Angeles, California.
Mm-hmm.
And the original Apple Macintosh personal computer goes on sale in 1984.
Whoa. Didn't know that.
Big songs for that year were Like a Virgin, Madonna, obviously, because of MTV.
Yep.
Kenny Loggins, Footloose, Against All Odds by Phil Collins.
Oh, that's a good one, too.
When Doves Cry by
Yes,
Prince.
I did know that one.
Average income for that year is $24,900. Wow. Top grossing movies that year are Ghostbusters, Beverly Hills Cop, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Gremlins, The Karate Kid, and Police Academy.
Oh, we used to watch all of those movies, all those Police Academy movies.
They were good. I only watched them for Michael Winslow, the beatboxer guy that made all the different noises.
Yep.
Like, he's still alive, and he does stand-up, and he sounds the same. So next thing I want to talk about is some of the snacks. I didn't do a whole lot of research into this because most of the snacks that I remember from the 90s anyways, but we have this 80s, what is this, a candy box.
Yeah, someone got me that for my birthday.
1980s nostalgia,
It's a
retro
nostalgia candy box.
But there's one thing that was from the 80s that was discontinued later on in the 90s. Do you remember the little high C juice boxes?
Like the circle ones, like the Hugs?
No, not the Hugs. It was a High C box. High C was the name of like an orange juice company.
Yeah, I remember High C. I don't remember the boxes.
And then they came out with the Ecto Cooler, which was based off of Slimer from the Ghostbusters movie.
Yes, I do know what that is.
They need to bring that back.
That they also need to bring back the original 3D Doritos.
Yes.
The original ones, not this whatever they did a couple years ago. Not that. I need the original 3D Doritos.
Weren't they called like Blast or something like that?
I don't remember. The new ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a chili something. I don't want that.
Oh,
I
no,
need the
no.
original.
The original ones.
I need the original 3D Doritos.
All right, let's do this together.
Okay.
Taking off
this
sleeve.
1980s nostalgia retro candy.
Let's open this up for everybody to see and give us a peek.
Oh, Pop Rocks.
Oh, there's new stuff in here.
Oh my gosh, these are my favorite. You can't see if you're not watching this.
This is the candy that every old grandma has in their purse.
These are my favorites. I love these. My grandma used to have these in the candy dish, and it's those little strawberry candies.
Yes, that like the wrapper on the outside of it looks like a strawberry.
Oh,
Gold Mine
Nugget bubble gum. I don't remember that.
Boston baked beans.
I do remember that.
Holy cow.
Oh my goodness.
Candy coated peanuts. That's what these
watermelon and cherry nerds, warheads. Oh gosh, my mouth just started watering just thinking about that.
Original Pop Rocks.
I don't remember this.
The original flavor.
A big ball, super big bowl. I don't remember that.
That's not
There's
80s.
No way those are 80s.
Fun Dip. That was the 80s one.
Bubble tape. Stop it.
Is this candy cigarettes?
It is the candy cigarettes.
Oh, so my dad.
Hilarious. Oh my gosh. The rock candy.
Oh yeah, the
necklaces.
space rocks.
But look, do you remember these? The wax lips. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited right now. I'm totally opening this. Oh my goodness. I totally remember these.
You would eat that?
It tastes.
Yeah, but you just chew on it. You don't eat it.
It's just wax. You just chew on it. It says, her wax lips never interrupt her constant chit chat.
Isn't it funny how people are paying like doctors to look like that?
Oh, they don't stay in very well.
No, you
oh
gotta
my
bite 'em
goodness,
down.
I'm so excited.
Dude, that is so funny. These little candy cigarettes, because my dad one time, like can I open this? Mm-hmm. I wonder if it still has like the same paint job on them.
Cowtails.
I've never had one of those.
What? Now and laters?
Okay.
I do remember these.
The
Tart Tinies. Yes. I do remember those.
That's what I was trying to tell you yesterday.
About yesterday. That's not what I thought you were telling me about.
Okay, so these
don't. And we have runts.
So these.
No, they're not the same.
I don't know that you can market them as candy cigarettes anymore because kids were trying to smoke candy cigarettes. But on the old ones, they used to have like a brown filter to make it look like a regular cigarette. And my dad put one of these in his mouth and then clicked the little cigarette lighter in the car.
You had
and
to
then
push it
tried
in?
to light it. and it caught on fire, like, because the paint was like super flammable, and it started sparking and everything, and it was going all over the place, and I about died laughing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was like the funniest thing. I actually want to try this and see if it tastes like.
Do it. I never liked these. The Chico sticks. Did you ever like Chico sticks? We used to get these. They had the Chico sticks and big tall. They used to look like the cowtails and like the big long ones. But I remember I fell in love with cowtails.
Like a wafer? It was like a candy wafer?
I don't know. No, I never.
Oh, yes.
No, I don't like those.
Yes. I am eating this right now.
Go for it. So they used to come in long things, kind of like a cowtail. So Scott and I played softball and baseball down at Bigley Avenue, down Midwestern. And our parents were always in the concession stand, and they would have the big Chico sticks and these big cowtails and the big there's another one in here. The big cowtails and the big
You don't like these?
No, I've never liked those.
It's like a peanut butter candy.
I don't like it. And the big pixie sticks, like the big long pixie sticks. There's a piece of the cowtail
that were like made out
of
like the McDonald's straws, like the really wide ones. Take you like a day to eat it. So these candy cigarettes kind of taste like the stick from the Fun Dip. So if you're not missing too much there. So what's in a cow's tail?
It's caramel and cream. I like those like
caramel.
Sure, caramel.
Caramel. No, look it up. Where's the wrapper?
It's right here, but
spell it for me.
Caramel. Caramel.
Caramel. There's an A in it, not Carmel.
That's really good.
Caramel. Let me see.
See?
That reminds me of those, the sucker ones. Remember, what was it called?
The Sugar Daddy?
Sugar Daddy. I was about to call it a Big Daddy or something. Sugar, yeah.
Man, these are good.
Yeah, it takes you back.
This also has runts in it.
Yeah, but some of these things, like Sour Punch is not an 80s candy.
I don't think so.
Airheads
are good. Sour Patch Kids? I don't remember those being 80s. Skittles, yes, because I've always been obsessed with Skittles. Now and Laters, yes. This is the banana Now and Laters, too.
Are.
Nice.
Dude, you got so lucky.
Big League Chew. Man, this is so cool. I've never seen this Golden Mine Nugget bubble gum, though. I don't know what that is. I'm sorry as you're sitting here listening to us eat.
It was one of those candies that has always been in Cracker Barrel.
No. I never saw this before. It looks like corn.
It's bubble gum.
Doesn't it look like corn, though?
Yeah. So
for my party, we had my 40th birthday party the other day, and my mom took, these are those rock candies on a stick, and my mom took these and put them in a mannequin, like one of those like foam mannequin heads.
Oh yeah.
And it made it look like it was like this crazy mohawk with some like those cool, like, remember those like blind glasses?
Oh yeah.
It was the coolest thing ever. It was so neat.
Yeah.
Nerds are my favorite too.
What a good trip down memory lane. Like all of this, like our movie talk and the candy necklaces. So they used to have something that was like it would come on like receipt paper.
We had those at the party the other day. They're dots.
Yeah, little candy dots, but you could never get them clean. Like they would always pull off the paper.
Yep.
And I'm so tempted to figure out what I want. I'm gonna take this.
Take that Chico stick.
Can I take something else?
Yeah. You want the rest of those candy cigarettes?
No, I'm gonna pass on that. I'd rather eat chalk. Than eat that.
Go for it.
But we'll sort that out.
We also just found Pop Rocks, just saying.
Oh, I know. So they used to have a candy. I just swept the floor, Jessica.
I think I caught it. You can hear them.
Oh yeah, that's so fun. So they used to have a gum that came in powdered form in the 80s.
It was in a jug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you would just dump it in your mouth and have to, like, once it got wet, it would start to form like gum. But you had to spit it out relatively quick because it would get to gum and then it would fall apart. Like,
I remember that.
But
you and I talked a couple months ago about the popsicles. I don't know if anybody else remembers these, but I did remember them. They weren't the same. The ones I found on Amazon weren't exactly the same.
Yeah.
But the popsicles that had that you could break apart.
Yeah, in the middle.
The middle.
As the candy pops in your mouth.
The candy is all popping in my mouth right now. But they were like tubular looking, and they had the little middle, and you could break them apart like that.
Yeah.
Do you also remember? This just made me think of this. So in elementary school, we had bag milk. Do you remember bag milk?
No.
It was milk that was in a bag, it was almost like a, I don't know, like a Ziploc bag, but it wasn't. I mean, it was bagged milk, and that was our favorite thing in elementary school because if you poked a hole through it, then you could go get a cup, and that's what we would always purposely poke a hole through it so we could go get a cup, and we would just drink our milk out of a cup instead of out of the bag. But they had bagged milk. If anybody else remembers bagged milk, let me know, because
No.
I totally remember the
I
bag
do
milk.
remember them making milk deliveries to my house, though, which you don't see anymore.
No, not at all.
Like, we would get milk delivered to our house because there was 5 of us. And so, obviously, you can imagine that we probably went through tons of cereal in the mornings.
Mm-hmm.
And every Sunday night after church, my dad, we would do, like, breakfast. So my dad would always, like, make pancakes or waffles. And so we would go through milk, but we never had like soda at the house. As far as I remember, it was always just milk. And
yeah. I remember having
never
diet
drink water.
Pepsi,
We was just
caffeine free, and we were not allowed to drink it.
Yeah.
It was for the adults.
Yeah.
Diet Pepsi, caffeine free.
Dude, growing up in a Christian household is kind of funny because like you have like, like most people have like their alcohol like bar and section that's just for the adults. But in Christian like household, it was like they had like all your 2 and 3 liters. Excuse me, that's just for the adults.
Don't touch that. Don't touch that. Do you remember, like, I don't know if they did this where you guys were at, but they did Book It. Do you remember Book It? So you would read books for school, and then you would it was called Book It, and they do the Book It challenges. And so you would read these books, and you would write them down, and then you had to read like X amount of books, and you would turn them into the school, and then you would get a free personal pan pizza to go to Pizza Hut. Mm-hmm. That's what we used to do that all the time. We used to go to Book It and do the Book It stuff all the time. So whenever we would cash those in, we would go and do that Pizza Hut. I also remember going to Kmart, and they used to have the little cafe in Kmart, and we would get our popcorn and our ices and walk around and shop at Kmart.
Yep.
We loved that. My grandma worked at Sears in the Huntington Mall, and she worked in like distribution, like she was on the call center there. And we would go there, and there's a place still to this day, and I love to go there, but called Big Loafer in the Huntington Mall. And that was what we would do. So we would go visit my grandma at Sears. She would always get us something at Sears. I actually have a huge Littlefoot still to this day. I still have it from 30 some years ago.
Really?
That was a Sears thing. Or like we would get the Sears catalog and circle the wish list stuff at Christmas, what you wanted.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just thinking about that, about the Book It stuff. I mean, we used to love doing that because we'd go to Pizza Hut all the time and do that.
Yeah, I would do that. I think I read like 90 something books one summer.
Yep.
And they were like, Jared, what are you going to do with like 10 personal pan pizzas? And I'm like,
go to Pizza Hut all the time.
Yeah. And then, obviously that never happened because mom and dad got tired of eating pizza. But I think they would do the Pizza Hut, but then every once in a while they had this place in Louisiana where we were going at. It was called Mr. Gaddy's, and it was kind of like where Showbiz Pizza and Chuck E. Cheese kind of got all their stuff from. Like once Mr. Gaddy's closed down, like all the gorillas and stuff went to Showbiz Pizza.
Okay,
and then. Like, I think they just recently tore down the gorillas at Chuck E. Cheese here next to where the old Toys R Us is.
I don't think it's there anymore.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see it I was just there in September for a birthday party.
Yeah.
I just ate more Pop Rocks. Sorry.
Every time you talk, it's like...
I know. I feel like they're shooting out of my mouth. I was just there in September. I didn't see them.
Yeah. But do you remember those?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I remember being freaked out.
Yep. I remember those. We have a Billy Bob's, which was like the showbiz.
Yeah.
And there's still one of those in Huntington, but I don't know if they still have the animatronics.
It's expensive to keep all that stuff going, especially for 40-something years. Alrighty, ready for, even though this whole episode felt like a mystery meet.
I know, right?
It was good, though. Mystery meet time for those of you joining us, maybe possibly for the first time and don't understand what the mystery meet is. That is a question that is randomly generated and printed and cut up and put into a jar. And there's 50 or so questions in here, so we just stir it up and ask it. It's just like a potluck. Like there's a mystery. I didn't realize you put those things back on.
Sorry, I put my crazy lips back in here.
What's had the greatest impact on your life, good or bad, and why?
What? I'm gonna change it. I would say who, but that can also be a what. I would say my grandmother, but I would also, okay, let me rephrase that. I would say what had the greatest impact on me would be loss. I have experienced a lot of loss in my life from a very early age, and I think that has had a big impact on me, positively and negatively. I mean, obviously the loss hurts, but I think positively it has taught me so much. Like, because in those moments, we were just talking about this in life group a couple weeks ago, like about how like in those moments of loss and grief or whatever, like, or when in those moments of hard times, like you don't always stop and think like, man, God is right there with me. A lot of times it's after you've gone through those things, you're like, man, God was right there with me in the midst of all of that. And so I think that for me, it would be looking back, like those things have shaped me. And while those things had been hard, I know that I'm where I'm at today because of those things. And so I'm very thankful for that. Yeah. So as silly as that, I mean, I don't want to say silly, but as not silly is not the word, as somber, I guess you could say, as that sounds, like that would be for me. I think that would be it, would be loss. Like, cause it really has, I mean, I've experienced it from a very young age. So, but I think you learn more about yourself each time, but you also learn more about who God is and in those circumstances also. Yeah.
I would say just the constant, like we were always at church.
Yeah.
And I would say that just the routine of always going and being exposed to the Word of God and preaching and music, whenever I got older and kind of did my own thing and overcoming that, the only reason that I was able to do that was because I grew up in church. Yeah. And I grew up hearing the truth and realizing that I was like, all right, well, it's time to take this whole relationship thing with Jesus as seriously as I can. And I'm grateful for parents that just never took no for an answer. It didn't matter if we were sick or not. We all just got loaded up. And, you know, we would sit in the back of church. We weren't allowed to go to, like, children's church or whatever if we were sick, but we were always there. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I was just around church enough to be able to say, whenever my life was in complete disarray and shambles, and I knew where I needed to turn. Yeah. Like on how to overcome addiction and with drugs and alcohol, and so I'm just super grateful for that. Yeah. But if I had to say a what, I'm just glad that I had parents that had like pretty decent taste in music. So it was Christian music, but it taught me a lot on singing and harmonies and stuff like that. And as I got older, I really, being allowed to listen to like bubblegum oldies and bands like the Eagles and whatnot, and what a lot of people would consider classic rock and whatnot. So, but yeah. And Rogue VCR recorders. Yeah. I'm grateful for that.
I know, right? You have to be able to watch those movies.
Yeah. This was a fun one. Thank you for having a birthday.
Thank you.
Yep, it was much appreciated. It was good. It's always good to kind of like reminisce on these things and talk about them and whatnot. But thank y'all for sticking with us today and enjoying this episode. I hope y'all enjoyed it, but it was good. Obviously, the video version of this is going to be a lot better than the listening. But if you did listen, thank you. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next Friday for another episode of the Pastor's Potluck. Y'all have a good weekend.
See you later.
Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. You can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.